There is a version of you that no one remembers. Not even you. It existed for roughly 3 years, opened its eyes every morning, cried, laughed, learned to walk, felt hunger and warmth and pain, and then vanished. Completely, as if it never happened. And the strangest part? That version of you had no idea who it was. Not because it was too young to understand, but because the brain structure required to build an identity, to say I am someone and I exist across time, was not yet assembled. You were not a person yet. Your brain proves it. This isn't a philosophical argument. This is neuroscience. And once you understand what was actually happening inside that small skull, the way you think about consciousness, memory, and what it means to be you will never be quite the same. Let's go back to the beginning. When you were born, your brain was roughly 25% of its adult size. It was firing constantly, processing light, sound, touch, hunger. It was learning at a rate it will never match again. But one structure, the most important structure for building a self, was almost completely offline. The hippocampus. Neuroscientist Patricia Bauer at Emory University has spent decades studying what she calls infantile amnesia, the near total absence of autobiographical memories from the first 2 to 3 years of life. Her research revealed something unsettling. It is not that the memories were formed and then forgotten. It is that the infrastructure to form them in the first place simply did not exist yet. Your hippocampus, the brain's memory consolidation center, the structure that takes an experience and stamps it with a time, a place, and a sense of self, was still being built. Neurons were still migrating into position. Synaptic connections were still forming. The process of myelination, the coating of nerve fibers that allows signals to travel fast enough to become lasting memories, was nowhere near complete. You were experiencing the world fully. Every sensation was real, but nothing was being written down. Think about what that means for identity. Antonio Damasio, one of the world's leading neuroscientists at the University of Southern California, argues that the self is not a thing. It is a process. It is built moment to moment by a brain that links past to present, that says, the person who felt cold yesterday is the same person feeling warm today. That linkage requires memory. Specifically, it requires autobiographical memory, the kind of memory that carries a you through time. Without it, there is sensation, there is reaction, there is even learning, but there is no narrator, no continuous thread, no identity. Your brain during those first 3 years was running the hardware, but not the software. And here is where it gets stranger. Research published by Bauer and her colleagues found that children do form memories before age 3. Toddlers can recall events from weeks or even months earlier. But those memories are fragile, unstable. They exist in a developing system that cannot yet anchor them to a coherent self. As the hippocampus matures, typically around age 2 to 3, a neurological event occurs that researchers call the transition point. The new, rapidly developing neural architecture begins to overwrite the earlier, cruder storage system. The old traces don't just fade. In many cases, they are actively displaced. You did not simply forget your early childhood. Your brain renovated itself, and the old files were lost in the construction. But here is what disturbs most people when they first hear this. During those 3 years, you were not asleep. You were not absent. You were there, fully, experiencing everything. You felt the warmth of being held. You felt the shock of cold water. You felt fear, comfort, joy, loneliness. Studies on infant pain response by researchers including Maria Fitzgerald at University College London confirm that even newborns process pain through the same neural pathways adults use. You suffered. You celebrated. You were moved by the world. And none of it was recorded as you. There was experience without experiencer. There was a body moving through time with no one inside keeping score. Now think about what identity actually is. Most people assume identity is something you are born with, a core, a self that exists from the moment consciousness begins. But the neuroscience tells a different story. Identity is assembled. It is constructed piece by piece as the brain builds the structures required to hold a continuous narrative. You did not arrive in the world as you. You became you, somewhere around your third birthday, when your hippocampus finally came online and your brain began stitching experience into memory, into self. Everything before that point belongs to a version of you that left no record. And that raises a question that neuroscientists and philosophers are still arguing about today. If there were no memories, was there consciousness? Was there someone home? The honest answer is, we don't fully know. What we do know is that whatever was there, whatever that pre-identity version of you was experiencing, it had no sense of being a self that persisted through time. It could not recognize its own reflection as itself. It could not imagine a future version of itself. It could not ask, "Who am I?" Those capacities emerge gradually alongside the maturing brain structures that support them. Mirror self-recognition appears around 18 months. Future self-projection emerges around age 4. The full autobiographical self, the one that tells a continuous story, is still being assembled well into childhood. You were not a person the moment you were born. You became one slowly, and the process left no witnesses, not even you. Here is what stays with me about all of this. You are, right now, in possession of an identity you did not choose and do not fully understand. It was built for you, by a brain you had no control over, using experiences you cannot access, in a period of your life you will never remember. The you reading this sentence was assembled on top of a foundation you have never seen. Patricia Bauer once said that infantile amnesia is not a failure of memory. It is a feature of development. The brain discards those early traces because it outgrows the system that held them. But that also means there is an earlier version of you, curious, alive, fully present in the world, that was never given a name, never told its own story, and never got to remember any of it. It lived for 3 years, and then it was quietly replaced by you.